It's Metaleye. This is some footage of me tracing a single frame of my Quick Brown Fox animation, start to finish, but the audio had a weird echo problem and also my dog barked the entire time.
Just tracing him.
Oh, hush, honey. I know.
She's a quick brown dog. I wish she was lazier.
So here's me from the present, awkwardly re-recording everything I said in the past with varying tense consistency. So I shot this on Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025, which was the exact middle day of the year, which I thought was a pretty cool day to do this little demo. I'm going to be tracing this template I made, and I'd been doing that every day since the beginning of the year, so at that point it had been exactly 6 months, half a year. I'm going to show my whole process, and depending on how many of these I color in, it usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes. So I've got my registration bar here to keep things stable. I put this pretty tape on here so I can easily tell this is the stencil, tell it apart from all the copies. I keep everything in this binder, so I'm going to be starting a new day's tracing. Here's all the past 6 months tracings right here. That's what 6 months, 182 pages looks like. Here are my notes. That's where I sketched it first. And these are all my ideas for animating the marquee lights. I started doing that as soon as January ended because I was already bored. It wasn't part of my original plan, I was just going to leave them empty, but by the end of January I was like, I have got to do something to keep this entertaining for me, because it was a commitment every single day tracing this. I was pretty good about it. If I occasionally missed a day, I would just do 2 the next day, don't tell anybody, but I would get it done every day about 99% of the time. So I'd take one of these and then one of these, and these are all in the right order. See, I've got it numbered already. This is going to be frame 183, and then 14 is the number of the fox and dog animation. And that's kind of cool. It just happened to work out. There's exactly 42 of those, so that was nifty. You can see I had pre-animated where this loading bar is going to end, so that was kind of a pain to have to do that for all the days in advance. But I've got that ready to go, and I'll trace it when I trace this. I'll need to cut and punch more paper. I like to cut just regular printer sheets in half, trying to save paper. Then I make the holes with just a regular notebook paper hole punch. This is only enough for maybe like another month. This is my calendar where I keep track of stuff. If I want to make sure, okay, today's July 2nd, I want to make sure, yes, that is the number. That is number 183. We are on top of things. Here's where I decide when the fox and dog are going to blink. So I have the fox blinking at the end of every month, and I have the dog set up to blink every month and a half or so. Just slightly slower so they don't ever blink at the same time, which would just be horrible. I was definitely most excited to animate the lights for October because that was where I did SOS in Morse code, and I think that's hilarious. So wherever I highlighted them blue, that's where all the lights are going to be off, and then, when it's not highlighted, that's where they're on. I mapped all that out on the sketch beforehand to make sure it would fit. So now I have these out. We go here and set up the new sheet, and this is for later. And we turn on the light box, and just for a little bit of extra registration, I like to put some magnets on it, and we're ready to go. I always had to be careful not to just out of habit start tracing with my right hand, because that's what I've been doing for 32 years. It's a bit of an ingrained habit. But here we go, left hand. That's the hand they use. Usually I start with the date, so just tracing. I put stars here because I struggle to draw stars with my right hand. They're just something that's hard to draw to me. I still mess them up sometimes. It makes so much more sense in my head to just draw the outline. That little crossy thing is just not how my brain works. Then it's Wednesday, so we do that first. And I've got this set up so that depending on how long the date is, I can have as many stars as I need to fill in that empty space. I like how that looks. Wednesday usually takes up all the space, just 1 star in between. And I just move these around the whole time. They aren't really necessary, but I like them. Then July 2nd, the exact middle of the year. We'd just come out of Pride Month, so that's why I still had rainbow nails. These are a lot like pentagrams. Should have made them upside down. Sometimes I'd go left to right, then sometimes just to shake things up, I'd go right to left, to avoid smudging the ink. Apparently Leonardo da Vinci did that in his notebooks, which is a cool little fact. He was left-handed. I am not left-handed. But usually I go right to left because my hand is already over there, and I just go like this back and forth. It's kind of like meditation, doing this every day. Sometimes I'd play music, sometimes I'd just focus on the tracing. Even at this halfway point, my left hand still didn't feel comfortable. It still felt wrong and weird to write with it, even by the end of the year, too. I think it might take 32 years of using my left hand before it feels as comfortable as my right. I struggled for a while trying to get consistency with the pens I was using. I had a set of 4 I started with, then the plan was to buy some more in the exact same brand and size once those ran out, but those original ones were like 12 years old, and I don't know if they changed their formula or if that's just what happens to pens after over a decade, but with the new ones, even though they were the exact same model, the lines were way too thick. So that's why if you see in the final animation, some of the drawings look a little heavier. I had to use them until I got a chance to go back to the store and get these, which aren't exactly like the old ones, but they were the closest I could find. That's just one of those many unforeseen problems when you do projects like this. Like, oh, okay, cool, I thought I was prepared. I know animation kills pens. I've done long pen killing animations before. I thought I had a pretty good plan. Apparently not. But yeah, looking alright. When I do straight lines, I usually turn it because it's easier to go like this than it is to go like that. It's easier now for sure. That first month I was mostly figuring out how to get the hand position right. I was trying to use my wrist instead of my fingers. I have to think, okay, palm on the surface, and then use your fingers and make sure it's all the way down in this crevice of the hand or whatever you call that. It was just a lot of focus on that. That part's easier now. Now I can just focus on the actual movement. There are kind of two ways to draw these lines. You can either do in segments like I'm doing here. That's how I do it with my right hand, so that's kind of what I was trying to replicate with my left hand. But you can also do it in kind of one long stroke like this. It'll make the paper wrinkle if you push down too hard, but you move your whole hand. It's so weird, all the little things you do automatically and you don't even think about it until you have to flip things over and use your non-dominant hand. Your submissive hand. So stupid. Anyway, I've got this on a pretty low setting so it's not so blown out in the camera, but I can turn it up more if I want it brighter. This says ambidexterity loading, but really the only thing I've been training my left hand to do is trace, so I was never really gonna be truly ambidextrous by the end of this project. But you know, it looks cute there at the bottom. Could have been doing other things with my left hand, like I've heard that brushing your teeth with it is a good way to get a little bit of extra training. I mean, I do drive my car with a hand that could barely write before, so it does know how to do some things, but it's just so bad at most things. I was trying to think of something that my left hand could do better than my right hand, and maybe there are some, like a couple piano riffs or something. I do a lot of oompa patterns with the left hand, but nothing my right hand couldn't learn to do better really quickly and easily. Now with these little letters, it did feel like I wasn't getting better, but if I look back toward the beginning, it was like, oh, I actually am getting better. It's just a long, slow process, especially compared to day 1. Day 1 is trash, but day 365 came out pretty good. It's definitely a curve, not like a straight-up linear improvement. There was a whole lot of improvement the first month, then I kind of felt like I was plateauing a lot. I did start to keep a little journal for some extra practice, just some more drawing and writing, and I'd practice my signature a little bit in it, because it was struggling the most of all these things I'm tracing. I think it's because I try to do it faster, as fast as I would write it with my right hand. Here I'm doing 2 lines at once because I don't care. I would try not to rush. I wanted to do as good as I could every day so I'd get better, but it was so boring sometimes. When you trace the same thing that you've drawn over and over and over again, you notice everything you wish you could fix. Like this V is a little crooked. I really want to straighten it, but no, I need to trace it how it is. So that's a fun little thing to drive yourself crazy with. Hashtag animators. Put a little infinity there for autism, because yeah, who else would be doing this? I put a little heart because I like to draw hearts by things. That makes me happy. Just the most commonly used symbols besides that. Oh wow, that sucked. But gotta leave it. Do better tomorrow. I guess this is a pretty good exercise for fighting perfectionism. Like, I am doing all of these so imperfectly, but I can't do anything about it, you know? That's part of the project. It's only supposed to be as good as I do it. Here's that signature that's so challenging. That'll probably be the chatteriest in the final animation. I still need to figure out how to do it in one stroke because I always have to lift up my pen and move my hand. I don't know how my right hand does it. There's American money sign. I don't even know if I can draw any other currency symbols with my right hand. Got to do the loading line. You can see it's just slightly past these little lines I have here. Each one is a month, and then I just animate between them. You can barely see the difference here, but over the 365 frames, it will be noticeable. Here's another place where I really want to fix these imperfect circles. I can fix that a little more. That one's going to be colored in, so I don't have to worry about it. For some of the light animation patterns, I can just do them as I go, but the one for this month, I did have to plan out a little bit. I have that on this graph paper here that I can sketch stuff out on. So for this day, it's the 2nd. We're going to be here. We're going to have 2 lights going counterclockwise, so we'll color that when we get there. Sometimes I mark them, so that would be 2 down this way, so this one is going to be filled, so those 2 are going to be empty. And then this one is going to be filled, and then let's go ahead and do that now while I'm thinking about it. So we have on the long side, there's going to be 3. It's making kind of a comet animation. So we're going to have that filled and that filled. Yeah, I'll do all of them. This one has 2. We're going this way. And I'll go back and color them in at the end. I like to turn the light box off for that because I don't need it, and then I don't have to stare at the light more than necessary. 3 this way, and then all the ones between will be black. Gives me something to think about, in addition to just mindlessly tracing. Keeps it fun. It is so much easier to go right to left. It is insane to me that people whose languages go right to left are still just as likely to be right-handed. It's so annoying, you can't see it because your hand's on top of it. So kind of the silly reason I wanted to do this is that I wanted some more skill with my left hand so that when I paint my right hand's nails, it looks better. It was based on an idea I had back in college, which I did start. I made a short little left-handed animation, but then I didn't really have any reason other than that would be cool, so I never did any more than that one walk cycle. But now that I'm into nail art, I have a bigger motivation, because you need motivation to do something like this because it's crazy. So I do get a cool progressing animation at the end of the year, and already even at that half point I was noticing a difference in my nails. Look how neat they are, like this hand, even though I did it with my submissive hand, came out so nice and neat, so I already achieved my goal there. Okay, finally we can do something slightly more interesting. So I take off the magnets, I take off my frame, and then we have the fox and dog frame. Now if I were ever to do this whole thing again, God forbid, I would definitely make it so that the holes go on here and then I can just lay it on and that would be great. But I didn't do that, so I have to manually line it up with this border as close as I can. And it might not be perfect, but it's as good as it's gonna be. Like I tried to put registration dots up there, that's what those are on the template, but they don't work for some reason. I don't know. But it's okay, I only had to do it 365 times, and I can count that high. I taped that down, some only slightly sticky masking tape, because it did tear here once when I pulled it up, so I try to keep that tape a little not sticky. A good way to do that is to just put it on your shirt, get some lint on it, and then I alternate where I put the tape each time. Then I put this back on, and I turn up the brightness because now we have 3 sheets of paper instead of just 2. This is a neat little light pad, I think they call it, not a light box. I wish I'd had something like this in college. We had these giant-ass things that we had to lug to each class. Which, it's a fond memory, but this would have been so nice to just slip in my backpack. I'll put a link to this in the description if you'd like one for yourself. Highly recommend. And then that link supports my channel. Then I put my magnets down. The hardest part, I think, of this entire tracing is definitely the dog's eyes. They're always following the fox, so it's really hard to get such a precise little line there with my submissive hand, so I have to focus especially hard and do it really carefully, and this is another reason why I'm not really happy with this pen. I think it bleeds a little bit, so the lines get a little muddled, but hopefully the next pen I try will be better, and I'll be better with my left hand too, and that'll help. When the drawing is so small, just the tiniest mistake makes a huge difference, especially on your character's face. But I wanted to do it small because I wanted to get good at drawing tiny things with my left hand because I want to draw tiny things on my stupid nails. It's stupid, but it makes me happy, so that's all that matters. Another hard part is these tiny little fox eyes, especially when he, she, they, I never picked genders for these critters, but whenever the fox blinks, it's really hard to do that half blink with this pen. But I don't really mind that they're a little sloppy, it just shows the progress. Alright, that didn't come out too bad. Now we get to turn off the light box, let our eyes not be staring into the sun, and we do the even more mindless part. Oh, and I take this off carefully. I probably should have laminated this, but it was in alright shape after half, so it did fine for the rest too. Then I save the tape for next time, put that aside, and then when I color it in, it bleeds through a little, so I have just a scratch paper here. You can see where the pen has bled through. Here's what it looked like by the end of the year. This is an old resume. They tell you to always print extra copies, so now I have all these copies of outdated resumes. So, scratch paper. And then I color in the unlit lights. The lights lit. This was so hard to do when I first started, just coloring something in solid so there aren't any little white streaks showing. That takes a lot more dexterity than you might think, but I got pretty good at it. I'm gonna go ahead and mark them all because when I start coloring in, sometimes I zone out and accidentally color where I'm not supposed to, so I'm gonna mark them all just to be safe. That happens especially if I'm listening to music. Just color them all in. But I can just fix all of that in post later. For the most part, I don't make that many mistakes that need... I mean, all of this is mistakes, but not that much that needs to be fixed. Like sometimes I'll start writing the month here instead of the day of the week, so then I write it up here, and then I'll Photoshop it down where it goes. So at the end of the year, I did have to fix a few frames that were messed up, but it was pretty few. As long as I stay focused and don't make too many blatant mistakes. Just coloring. Usually I finish by now, but when most of these need to be filled in, it takes a little bit longer. There we go, leave those 3 blank. But yeah, it's a good exercise in imperfectionism, wabi-sabi and all that, which I think is becoming even more important in these unprecedented times with all the AI stuff. I really like handmade things with little real mistakes because they're made by real people who aren't perfect. I used to be more perfectionistic than I am now, so that's cool. I feel it's a thing I'm getting better at. Oh, speak of the devil, I just made a big mistake. Not big, just a little line coming out. One day I was really tired. I did not want to do this, so I'll admit for that one day I did color all of these in with my right hand. So you're like, when will it end? God, it's so apparent from these voiceovers what decade of music I listen to. Almost done. This one, the circle got a little long, so I'm just going to cut it off like that. Last one, there. That's tiring on your untrained hand. On those occasional days when I would do 2 of these in one day, it would really make me cramp. It's very important to do your tendinitis prevention stretches. Alright, next slightly interesting thing is coloring this in. As this space gradually got bigger, I finally realized, oh, I can use a bigger pen. Took me till about April to come up with that. So I just get a thicker pen. I like to go vertical like this, just color that in. Doing this part next. And like this. There, we are done. We have a finished frame for the animation. And now I have a cute little way to put it away. Just go to the last one and I can put this one on top. And this one goes right here to the back of the stack and it's already in the right order. The next one's on top, ready to go for tomorrow on the 15th one. It's right there. Got a nice little system worked out for that. And that is it. That is my process. I did that every day for 6 months up until that point, and I did it every day for 6 more months afterward. Hope that was mildly interesting, just kind of showing the inner workings of my mind. Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, thrift store binder. Never buy a new binder. They are overflowing with binders at thrift stores. So yeah, stock up. Here's some close-up photos of my calendar, my sketches, and some other little plans and things for the light animations. It is March of 2026 now, and I have definitely just let my left hand slide back into submission. Maintaining the skill would just be too much time and work for it to be worth it for me, but it was still an interesting experience, and I love the resulting animation. Be sure to watch the final film if you haven't already. It took me a year. But yay, good job, we did it. Thanks for sticking with me. Peace, y'all.